Everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the Dream Cast Emulator porting to the PS Vita and also the PS TV. And so we're seeing a crazy amount of work coming from Rinnegatamante, the developer who ported the Daedalus X64 and brought us all sorts of crazy homebrew for us. And to see him work on this Dreamcast emulator now is very exciting. And I know he's going to get it done just because he got us the N64 emulator and he's been working so hard. And the last update, the version 0.4, had so many fixes. He added all sorts of different things, and I feel like the emulator is running very well and I can play some of my games no problem. And so we're going to take a look at the updates here with this whole news that's going on. And I'm a little bit late because this was released on June 3rd, 2020. And there has been an update to this thread or this news post in the last 3 or 4 days, or 3 or 4 days ago is what I'm trying to say. And we're going to take a look at all the updates and what their plans are with this emulator. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you don't lose the or you don't miss out on the actual release of this emulator. So here I am on PSX Place, and I'll have a link to this post in the description down below. And so let's take a look at this post here. So it says developer Rinnegatamante, I hope that's how you say it, whom we recently interviewed in the Power Supply series and who has ported a Nintendo 64 emulator to the PS Vita and PS TV recently with the release of Daedalus X64, has another emulation project that many will be excited for as this shapes up, especially after seeing the great progress of DX64's N64 emulation so far to this point. Now, Redream, a Sega Dreamcast emulator, is being ported to the PS Vita as LibRetro core running on RetroArch Vita. So far, it's early progress. However, it looks like potential could be untapped from a developer who has some experience with the platform and emulation porting. Let me read that one more time. However, it looks like potential could be untapped from a developer who has some experience with the platform and emulation porting. There we go. So far, its rendering of graphics are in the early stages, so stay tuned for more progress reports from the developer. Until then, tell us in the comments below. Okay. So here is the Dreamcast if you're not familiar with what this console is. So it was competing at the time, it was competing with the N64 and the PS1, and I did not have an N64 or a Dreamcast, but I did play a lot on the N64, and the Dreamcast was like several times did I even have a chance to play that. One time at a party and another at like Walmart or something as a demo. It had a really strange controller because it had like an LCD on it, so I'm not very familiar with this whole console. And I did play one Sonic game that was all 3D. I thought it was the coolest yet strangest game I've ever played when I was young. But it's just an interesting console. There's a lot of people, a lot of die-hard fans of the Dreamcast, and there's a lot of people who talk about this emulator. They would love to see this on the PSP because it's like, hey, how come we can play PS1 games but no Dreamcast? And I've seen multiple threads saying that the Dreamcast has been very difficult to port over to these handheld consoles because of how much power it takes, or whatever the hardware that's involved with this specific console is a little too much for it to handle. So on May 31st, that's the Retro Dream Core running on Ryzen 5 2600X with x86 Dynarec that's currently getting ported to Vita. As can be seen, CPU usage stands around 3 to 4% over such a CPU, and the RAM usage is under 200 megabytes. Fairly sure we can get this to work decently on Vita and new 3DS. There we go. So let's take a look at that picture here. That looks like Resident Evil, if I'm not mistaken. As a comparison, Flycast core requires twice the performance, taking around 6 to 7 CPU usage. Interesting. Retro Dream target is fast Dreamcast emulation sacrificing in accuracy, kind of like the DLS X64 achieves for N64 emulation. Now on June 2nd, it started rendering something, which I don't know what that means. Vita controller configured in port number 1 on the Vita. So this is a screenshot on the Vita. That is awesome. And on June 3rd, properly honoring RetroArch viewport. Dreamcast Emu on Vita update. On June 23rd, change of plans for what concerning DC emulation on Vita, since Redream open source code is extremely buggy on ARM devices, and since we didn't manage to solve those, I'll take a look at porting Flycast instead. This last one already has full ARM support, so we shouldn't get stuck. Interesting. And here is his Twitter to see the progress. If you like my work, you can support me on Patreon. And you can donate to his PayPal, which I'll have a link in the description, so you can go support him if you'd like, and follow him on Twitter. And I don't know if I have an account on Twitter, so I'm not even going to bother with that. Not now anyways. So that is pretty much it for this video. I wanted to just cover it and let you guys know what's going on in the news of homebrew out there and all the new stuff that's coming to the Vita. So any questions, comment down below, and if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video in the future like this one, and hit that notification bell because it's very important. So thank you so much for watching. Take care, guys, and I hope to see you on the next one.